Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, a discussion about consolidating peace and development through regional cooperation. The International Conference on the Great Lakes Region, ICGLR, holds an outreach event in Juba, marking a new chapter in the Republic of South Sudan's otherwise bleak outlook. As South Sudan rolls towards peace implementation this week, our panel weighs in on the regional implications of such a notable development. So, what will it take for the new nation and the region to attain sustained economic development and regional integration? How might we spur economic development and regional integration in the Great Lakes? And is regional cooperation through ICGLR a good idea for fixing South Sudan? Joining us right now in this discussion, Honorable Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin Bill, former presidential advisor and a special envoy. Ambassador Antipas Nyong Kucha, ICGLR National Coordinator. Mr. Parek Toby Maduad, Director for Economic Development and Regional Integration at the ICGLR. Mr. Nathan Bayamukama, Director, ICGLR Regional Training Center. Ms. Marakaja Lona, Secretary General, Sudamo. Our pleasure to have our panel. Later in the program, the panel will take questions and hear some views from the audience. With that, please welcome yourselves and welcome the panel. And without wasting time, I will refer back to the theme of this discussion, which is consolidating peace through regional cooperation. To consolidate something means it has to exist. And Dr. Benjamin has been part and parcel of the peace process, and he can tell us what is going on in the Republic of South Sudan. Has peace come to South Sudan? Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mading Ngor, of course, the great journalist that is heading Fixing South Sudan. An interesting discussion panel, which I think most of our people in the Republic of South Sudan and friends do enjoy. I'm also thankful to be a guest speaker at this occasion organized by the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, because it is an organization that the Republic of South Sudan joined in 2013, the 30th of October. And I had the privilege to raise the flag of the Republic of South Sudan in Bujumbura. So we officially became the members of this great organization. Now, the outreach they are holding today, mainly on peace and consolidated development, with security implications. I think it is a mandate that the ICGLR is entrusted to by 12 heads of states. There are 12 countries as members, and we have South Africa as an observer. Its principles are related to the situation South Sudan is in today. Here we are, the peace process is kicking off, where already we have the silencing of guns, the non-signatories are being contacted and having talks going on. So we can say with all confidence that the peace is at home. And with peace, I agree with ICGLR that development can take off.
And for development to take off, how do we position ourselves? Yes, we have to be cohesive internally. And then what else do we have to do to reap the benefits of regional cooperation?
There are a few things we have to do. We have to know what we have in our country. Our country is endowed with a lot of resources: agricultural resources, mineral resources, wildlife resources, water resources, and even if you look at the number of cattle, goats and sheep in South Sudan, we are number 2 in Africa. So we have resources. What we didn't have is peace itself. Now with peace, we can now say, let us take off to develop our resources so we get jobs for our citizens, so that our youth can be able to work and their lives, so that services can be given by our government to its people. So it is the right time, and we can hit the nail on the head. Let us kick off.
Thank you very much. And we are going to kick off with Ambassador Antipas Nyongkucha, who is the National Coordinator for the ICGLR. And before we can ask you about consolidating peace and how best to do it, maybe you can tell us about the work of your office in Juba. Many people don't know about it, and for the regional cooperation to happen, people have to be made aware about the activities right here in Juba. Welcome.
Thank you, Comrade Madiangor, a famous journalist in our country, South Sudan, and everybody knows you of your program of fixing South Sudan. Currently, I'm the national coordinator for the International Conference on the Great Lakes region, ICGLR. My work as a national coordinator is to coordinate implementation of the ICGLR Pact in the Republic of South Sudan. And part of the ICGLR Pact is about 4 programs of action. These are the programs to coordinate the implementation in all the line ministries. One of the programs of action is a program on peace and security. The second is the issues of what we are talking about today, that is the democracy and good governance in the Republic of South Sudan and in the Great Lakes region at large. The third program of action is economic development and regional cooperation. The fourth program of action is issues to do with humanitarian affairs, such as issues of sexual, gender-based violence, SGBV. These are the 4 programs of action dominating the ICGLR Pact, signed in 2006, and of which the Republic of South Sudan joined officially in 2013. So basically, my work as a national coordinator is to make sure that all the 4 programs of actions are implemented in each and every line ministry. And most of these 4 programs of action, of course, these are basically the functions of the government of each and every member state. So we have focal points in all the line ministries, including the national legislature. We have the Ministry of Interior, when you talk of statelessness, when you talk of maintaining law and order. We have focal points in the Ministry of Education. Most of the service ministries, we have our focal point, including the judiciary. Then you have the Ministry of Mining, you have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Gender. All these ministries have something to contribute to the implementation of the 4 programs of action of the Great Lakes region. So basically that is my work. And if people do not know, maybe Dr. Barnaba before talked about the number of states which are the stakeholders of the Great Lakes region. Then these are the 12 countries. And the 12 countries are basically the 6 countries of the East African community, that includes South Sudan. And then the other 6 countries is Sudan, the Central Republic of Africa, then the 2 Congo, the DRC and the Republic of Congo, then you have Angola and you have Zambia. Basically, these are the 12 countries which are the member states of the International Conference on the Great Lakes region. So these are the programs we carry out in each and every member state, and that is my duty, basically.
I understand that conflict was holding you back, and now you are launching this event at a very optimistic time in our history. Peace implementation is real. What does it mean now that peace is here in terms of the regional cooperation that we are talking?
Thank you very much. This event came up at the right time. This event is about the investment in the Republic of South Sudan and in the member states of the Great Lakes region as a whole. This particular event is meaningful in the event that it is a major watershed kicking off at the eve of implementation of the revitalized peace agreement. And it is significant in the promotion of peace, because when you talk of peace, it is not only the silencing of guns, but peace can be brought about also by development. Before, when we were in the liberation struggle, we had our program called Peace Through Development. It is in the same line that we are kicking off this program today, because we can also promote peace through development. And we are talking about the development when we kick off this particular outreach event. It is about development. When you want to bring peace, you can also launch or initiate development activities. Most of the people who get engaged in crisis, in wars, when there is development, they will engage in economic development activities. And then they will have less something to do with chaos. But they will now embark on peace building. That is basically the program.
Parag Madhuat, you are the focal point on this outreach event. It's part of a series of events that have been happening. You started in Dubai and now in Juba, and then you are going to Kigali, and that is going to be the investment conference. So this is the first time your office is holding such an event in the Republic of South Sudan, and we are talking about consolidating peace through regional cooperation. You break it down for us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mading. And I'm very happy that we've been able to hold this event. It has been something that I've been championing at the level of our organization, because throughout this recent conflict in South Sudan has been left in the back burner, because people assume that what is important is for them to stop fighting and not really to be engaged in the forward-looking initiatives that other countries are engaged in. But I don't agree with that concept. I believe that South Sudan is ripe to benefit from these initiatives. But the key point is that the people of South Sudan have to champion their own cause. They have to stand tall within the regional mechanisms that they join. They have to be aggressively active in championing that these initiatives be implemented here. And they have to be very proactive in actually preparing the ground for these initiatives to succeed here. So that's why I believe that this outreach event, even though at the beginning the idea was to come and promote the investment conference, we and our partners at the Office of the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General started from the beginning, late last year through this year, with outreach events in Europe, in Brussels, in London, in Washington, D.C., and in Beijing. And we moved down to our own region. There was an event in Nairobi, there was an event in Bujumbura, there was an event also held in Uganda that was received very enthusiastically by the President of the Republic of Uganda. And we decided that South Sudan cannot be left behind. We need to have an outreach event here. Life doesn't get suspended because of conflict. So we believe that coming here, and we are looking for soldiers in this fight for development. And these people are all of you who turned out here. People at the level of our government who are policymakers, people at the level of our private sector, people at the level of our civil society, our youth, our women, we all, and some of us who work in regional and international organizations, we have to join hands so that these slogans that we talk about, peace and development, can be translated from slogans to real active action. And that's the first start, to sensitize people and to tell them that the same challenges you're facing here, whenever I go to any of the other countries, they talk about them. There's no, perfect place. So South Sudan is also ripe for all these initiatives. We have to be proud and we have to push for our cause. So basically, that's the idea in a nutshell.
And the idea of regional cooperation does not sink in for a lot of people. Even the fact that South Sudan is part of the East African community, sometimes when they are going to Kenya or Uganda, they think that is East Africa. So how do we internalize this reality for them?
Yeah, first of all, we need to understand that when you take your plate of food and you join your neighbor, you have to actually bring your plate of food, and your neighbor will bring his plate, and then you sit together and you share. This is the idea. South Sudan has great potential, but we have to know what we have, what we bring to the table. But I am convinced that regional integration in this very globalized world is an imperative. It's not something that is optional. We need to engage with our neighbors. Even as we speak right now in this hall, downstairs from us, the peace talks of Sudan are ongoing. And we, as South Sudan, are involved in mediating that conflict. We already know that our problems of conflict have been resolved or are being resolved in other capitals. So we need to use regional cooperation in a positive way and not allow negative influences in that process. We want it to be about prosperity, shared growth, growing our people, learning from each other, and it can be a net benefit for all of us.
Can you tell us about the investment conference in Rwanda, when it is, and what is in it for South Sudan?
Well, thank you very much. That's an important point because that's something concrete. It's not at the level of concepts, it's at the level of real action. We have an investment conference that will be held in Kigali this year. We had it committed for the 18th to the 20th, but because of the recent issue of the virus, it has been postponed for a short time. It will happen here in 2020. The investment conference is the second investment conference that we're organizing in partnership with our colleagues at the Office of the UN, Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General. The idea of the conference is to promote projects that are cross-border and have impact on the livelihoods of our people. South Sudan is ready for investment. We need to consolidate the conflict. I think South Sudan could be the biggest beneficiary of this investment conference if we really prepare ourselves and we make the case that we are ready and conflict is behind us, and we are going to be focused on the aspirations of many of the young people you saw here earlier in the event. They have dreams about a better future, a way devoid of conflict, all about growth, all about prosperity. And it is doable, but we need to, at all levels, from the highest government officials to people who are working in the private sector, to join hands and fight for the right of South Sudan to be a successful country.
Thank you very much. And let me bring in Marakaju Lorna, who is a civil society activist, someone who has been chasing the peace that we are now consolidating. And people appreciate peace. They like it, they enjoy it, but they don't eat it. So if we have to talk about regional cooperation, first must be felt at home. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mading. And I think this conversation is happening at a very ideal moment. Reason being that we as a country have gone through conflict over and over again, and we have joined regional institutions for so many years now. South Sudan joined ICJLR in 2013. South Sudan is a member of East African Community. So the question is it translating to anything at home? And how do we consolidate peace through regional cooperation? I think this afternoon what I would say is that peace is a process. And when we join regional institutions, we should join with confidence. We should go as equal stakeholders, because last I checked, we don't have less fees for a particular member state. The question is, what strategy does South Sudan have when we join these kind of institutions? And I think as a civil society activist, what we have observed is that most of the times we have joined regional institutions without proper background search, without proper internal research. And I think this is a moment for us to do that research, because then we will know what we have in that plate which we have put together with the other member states. If we don't calculate that, I will say this for a fact, and I stand to be corrected, that others will eat the food that we have put together in that bigger plate and will come home complaining. We need to move away from that complaint, because in this kind of institutions, nobody is taking care of you. You have to take care of your interests. And I'm one person who has always said that anybody, any state, who says they don't have a state, they don't have interest, they are lying to themselves. So the question we need to ask as South Sudanese is, what is our interest? I think that is very critical. And trickling down to the country, we can only feel the impact if South Sudanese citizens are employed in those institutions.
And the point you are raising is that for us to feel the benefits of regional cooperation, which you are saying is a must, we must put our house in order.
Thank you. We need to put our house in order. And I think we have an opportunity, because some of these regional, actually all the regional bodies is a mechanism for peer evaluation and a mechanism for benchmarking. Can we start doing that in a more concrete way?
Thank you very much. And Mr. Nathan, did I cut you off?
Yeah, you cut me off.
Go ahead.
I was on the point that for South Sudanese to feel that they're part of East African community, we need to see South Sudanese citizens participating in the East African community. The same to Great Lakes and other regional blocks that we join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Nathan Biamokama, we are part of the region as South Sudan. And what can you say, how can South Sudan reap the benefits of regional cooperation? Welcome.
Thank you very much. The opportunity is there of regional organizations such as the International Conference of the Great Lakes region. Now, the business of the ICGR is simply to provide peace. Peace, stability, and development different sides of the same coin, but primarily having peace. And with peace, then the rest follows. And that's what the ICGR wants to provide for this region, what it wishes for this region, and what it has a mechanism for bringing such a stability in and development in the region. What we are discussing now is along those lines. So it is known by everybody that peace destroys, rather war destroys, and peace reconstructs. But war destroys very fast, and reconstruction takes a long time. So it's very important that when you reach an opportunity, I have been here, I was last here 1.5 years ago, but I find a number of things that have been constructed that I never left here. Now, this was done in situations of instability, but just imagine if there was stability, what we'd have achieved by now. So we must consolidate, building from what exists in our current circumstances, work with the region to help you, to help South Sudan, consolidate what it has already, build on what it has, get supported. The region is supposed to support in weaknesses. I mean, no countries, not even in Europe, no, all those countries are not at the same level of development. I mean, Portugal is not at the same level as France, for example, but they're in the same cooperation arrangement. The same thing should apply here. What is important and the benefit of regional integration and cooperation is to make sure that you do not leave your weak partners behind. You support them to reach at the same level as you are. Even competition is not even beautiful in situations of inequality. So nobody is interested in actually dominating the scene. The beauty in this region is that we don't have a hegemony to say that this country, the Greater X region is the one which controls the business of the rest. No, we are there as equal partners in this region. It is the same power that any country in this region has, the same power that South Sudan has. And therefore, you use that opportunity to negotiate, to discuss, to negotiate these interests, and reach consensus. And with consensus, then what else is left is, collective development for everybody.
South Sudan has a lot of catch-up to do, and where do you say we start? Is it just about consolidating peace, or we leave it behind us and we move ahead? What are some of the barriers that we must get out of the way for us to be integral part of this region?
Well, my thinking is that you benefit from, because the situation in which you are is not different from the situation any other country has passed through. I mean, just look at all of them. We have, whether it is Uganda, whether it is Kenya, whether it is DRC, whether they are even Burundi, the same thing. So we have where to copy from, and we should not be afraid of, they call it romantically, benchmarking. See how others have done it, and you do it the same way they have done it. Please also benefit from the fact and appreciate the fact that even this peace we are beginning to see is a function of some regional initiative, which you must also support. I mean, whether it is IGAD, whether it is African Union, whether it is EU, whether it is ICGR in its own moral way, but it is a regional kind of initiative that we need to build on.
Thank you very much. This is Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. With me, Mading Ngor, and we are speaking about consolidating peace and development through regional cooperation. And now it's time to bring in our guests who have been waiting patiently. Anyone who has a view, may you make it brief. If you have a question, can you make it specific? You just say your name and association. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. And with us in this program, our Honorable Dr. Barnaba Marial Benjamin Bill, former presidential advisor and special envoy. Ambassador Antipas Nyok Kucha, ICGLR National Coordinator. Mr. Parek Toby Maduat, Director for Economic Development and Regional Integration at the ICGLR. Mr. Nathan Biamukama, Director, ICGLR Regional Training Center, Bujumbura. Ms. Marakaju Lona, civil society activist and Secretary General of Sudan. And now we get back to the audience.
Thank you. I am Ambassador Sitona Abdullah Osman, Director General of Bilateral Relations, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. My question first goes to the my former Minister of Foreign Affairs. We always talk and sing the song of our resources. We have plenty of resources. We enumerate it. But unfortunately, up to now, we didn't demarcate our resources. We did not identify or quantify our resources. And this is, I think now we have a long period of government. So I think these things it need to have our attention if we want to join the regional community. And at the same time, I have a question for the ICGR about the protocols. I heard today many protocols has been signed by the 12 countries. But when we come and see ourselves as South Sudan on those protocols, it means we need time to see ourselves on those protocols. Because of that, I am looking into how we have to ratify this protocol later on when we see ourselves inside it. Because I see myself is not there on those protocols. And in the same time, I want to talk to my sister Lona, or my daughter actually she is, that my daughter, as a civil society, we appreciate your work, but your work, it has to be really knowledgeable with what is going on inside the government. When we join the regional cooperation, any regional organization, it comes to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have a legal department. Our legal department always connect with the judiciary. And after they connect with the judiciary, they present it to the executive. And all of us, we study the protocol, or what we want to do, how do we want to join, why we want to join. We don't join without reasons. We join with a very quantitative facts why we have to join. But the civil society, they take it as the ideal. They don't join to the government, they don't ask the government, but they take issues and see it from their own point.
Thank
so
you.
that is my advice.
Thank you, Ambassador.
My name is Buana Bolbolaraj. I'm a businessman. My business is called Araj Petroleum. Or the good way is Araj Group. I'm doing petroleum, banking, Land First Bank, and more company. I think the ideas is not bad to people of South Sudan to join the region. But I think it's better when you go to another house, you have to clean your house first. This kind of organization is a business. And here in South Sudan, when we talk about a lot of resources, we have cattle, we have agriculture, we have oil. What is benefits for people of South Sudan? Like a business people. You know, when I go to invest to Uganda or Rwanda, I have to go with my capital, get it from South Sudan. A South Sudan business, they have money to go to invest in that area. It must be law to regulate it. the same time, our business people in South Sudan, they have a right to do business in Sudan, and the government, they're giving protection for them. And I'm going to put an example, and it's a reality. I'm working in the oil field from 2007, where the South Sudan, was a country. And we knew how Khartoum, it was tried Chinese. After we became a nation, we cannot say nothing that time. The government of South Sudan, they have a good book and the law in order. What all the regulation for the tenders in oil field give a chance to South Sudanese, they call local content. But what happened in this process, our member of the government and high position, they cropped all this, they work, the government and NGO and international to put our regulation of oil field, crop them badly. Where then the minister, they come to be minister of petroleum, they have a right to say single sources to Chinese. So it's no competition. All the Chinese or Ethiopia, when the foreigners work in petroleum, they have a godfather, a South Sudanese and powerful. So how are you going to say we're going to join this and we don't have a right here?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. It's about the regulatory framework. How do you protect the local businesses?
Let me continue, Madingo. The worst scenario where we are here in this hall today, nobody now recognize they represented the government. So he cannot answer all these things. But everybody, ambassador, former advisor, that's what I was saying before. We're supposed to give us 1 week, like inform the government, like the minister coming, the different, where we say we have a lot of resources. We want to see these faces of the minister, how they're going to give a chance to people of South Sudan. Example, in oil field, just service, to take the water here to Unity, or take the petroleum from Khartoum to Paloj, just services, no nothing technical, it costs us 1.3 billion a year. When South Sudan can do that job, but who do it is Chinese. Why? They have a godfather. Second, Madingo.
You just wrap up.
Now, some ministers, they are good. When they come to work, then they start all the program. When we did the right thing, then they have clashes with who? A godfather. So they're not going to take 6 months. They must to go out. They stand in the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I hope if, like a South Sudanese and government of South Sudanese, they hope we have it for this new government. If the President Salva Kiir and Bible Riek Machar, they work together and they agree to kill this corruption, then we can join this organization.
Thank you very
Another
much.
why, just a word of time.
Thank you very much.
As a civil society activist and member of National Forum, South Sudan Civil Society, ICGLR member, the main drivers.
Your names, please.
Sheikh Vitali Aligo Samson. Sheikh Vitali Aligo Samson. The main drivers of the conflict in the Great Lake region is the mineral explorations. And it has actors, international and local. We have some forces threatening the region in security. For example, in South Sudan now, we have fight in Bibor. This is just because of mineral exploration, water resources, People are for grazing. Between South Sudan and Sudan, also problem of grazing. And in Central African Republic, Salika movement, those also are actors for causing insecurity in the region. We thank the government of South Sudan for implementing the peace agreement, the revitalized peace agreement, and the formation of and the appointment of the vice president, the 5 vice presidents. This is in order to achieve security, and this is one of the paths in the Great Lake region to be implemented because it's a peace. The issue is the peace first. Then the second issue, has been stated, is the good governance, democracy and good governance. In all the region, like in Kenya before the conflict which arose between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga.
The handshake.
Huh?
The handshake.
Yeah, the handshake. Yeah, they shake it at last. Yani. The most important thing in the region, we have to build the peace within all the state of the region.
Thank
you.
My name is Ado Majur. I have been silent since the start of this program. And I have a question on the economic development and regional integration. As an entrepreneur and a journalist at the same time, we have learned a lot, and we are going to learn more. Capacity building is very important. But for someone who actually have products, how does the ICGLR help in marketing your produce? After learning, after training, after ideas that will be given and are already given. Now, when I come back to South Sudan, how am I going to reach out for my market? This is my question.
My name is Aluel Martin, Afrotech Limited.
Your names? Your names.
Aluel Martin Major. I would like to thank our leaders who are here, particularly Rick, for what he has done to bring this show here. As they say, great leadership inspires, galvanizes, creates, uplifts, delivers, and transforms. Thank you, Parek, for this. And I believe South Sudan will go to where we want to be. Another thing that I would like to add, remember last time we were in Nairobi in a conference, there is something called a pitch session. Before we go for the summit, we have to be educated on that, those who are going for the summit. Yeah, the people who are going for the summit, we need to be informed about pitch session to showcase your business.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kwe Aquila Manyon. I'm totally different from what you guys are talking about. Thank you, Madingor. My message is going to the people in the diaspora. That's one of the words there, consolidating. It makes me so happy to hear it. Because I've been away from South Sudan for about 17 years, and in that 17 years, I come twice every year to see South Sudan. But it's the same position every time I come. But this time, South Sudan changed. It's not like last year. So my message to my age mates in the diaspora, whether you're in Canada, in America, in Australia, please stop social media and come out. Come to South Sudan. Emmanuel Kakembe say, Salamja, Shemistala Mafi Zoltani Bakori.
Thank you very much.
So here we are, come out and build the South Sudan. In next 5 years, South Sudan will be a mini Dubai. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Chris Olet. I'm much more on the regional cooperation, and I would like to, for this cooperation to happen, it's not only for the educated people. We have people at the grassroots level. How do we involve them? That is one. Sharing information is the other issue. I would wish you have an information sector within the Secretariat where we can share the opportunities within the different regions. As earlier I was saying, I would like to see somebody in Burundi knowing that it only takes 1 day to register business here in South Sudan. So I think a media platform, in addition to SSTV, is very important. I propose a regional one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Kokwachi Ring. I'm from Africa Mental Health Organization. My question is to Dr. Marial, and he's also one of the government officials. My question is, what will the government do this time that will actually keep peace and encourage development in the country?
Thank you, Madingo. My name is Thik Thik. I am the former national coordinator for the ICGLR. I am currently ambassador at large. Madingo, fixing South Sudan, maybe what we can help you as a tool is the adoption of the ICGLR tools, because in line with the theme of today's event, ICGLR came about as a result of the current challenges that the region was facing. And in 2004, 18 heads of state, plus the 2 regional and international organizations, and the Ban Ki-moon and Kofi Annan, joined in 2004 in Dar es Salaam and literally studied the challenges facing the region and came up with the prescriptions. Prescriptions spread across 10 protocols, covering the 4 main pillars that were mentioned earlier: the peace and democracy, democracy and good governance, peace and security, economic development and regional integrations, and humanitarian and social issues. Those prescriptions are there in 10 protocols that need only to be administered. And this is where my colleague, Ambassador Antipas Nyok, is tasked with to ensure that the relevant institution within this country implement those prescriptions, because they are already there. So when a doctor will prescribe to you based on the symptoms that you have, what do? In order to get well, you need to take those prescriptions. So fixing South Sudan is already prescribed, and it is there in the 10th protocol of the ICGLR. ICGLR is a great tool, and it's a great tool that needs to be taken seriously.
Thank you very much. My name is Sande Manyang. In 2011, I graduated as a student of development planning at Makerere University in Uganda. And the course I did can inform the questions that you have asked. If you would want to fix South Sudan, you must first of all know what's wrong with South Sudan. Maybe you are talking about the issue of peace, and you also want to talk about the issue of development. And you can have development without plans. If we want to fix South Sudan, we have to have the plans, and we have to interpret the plans that we have into actions. For example, we have South Sudan peace through development. That's a plan. It has 18 roads in South Sudan.
We need plans. Thank you very much.
Leave the best to the last. My name is Apple Toby, and I just want to say that this platform is really good for all of us, including people who did not attend this time. And I would like to ask our panel that as they plan for the conference to make sure to put health as an agenda. Let's invest in health, because even if we have all the resources but we are not healthy, we will not be here to reap what we have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan, you can pick up on anything that has been said, and if you have not picked up on anything, my question to you is, can this organization, ICGLR, fix South Sudan?
Thank you very much. I think the ICGLR will work with the rest of the organizations, the regional organizations, and the people of South Sudan to fix the issues in South Sudan, because they are fixable. I mean, there is no rocket science. I mean, what you are going through is what everybody has gone through, and those who are stable now have been unstable at some point. So what's a big deal? It's workable. What I can say in terms of the protocols, whether they mean much, the people of South Sudan, I should say yes, they mean a lot. Why? Because these protocols are talking about, for example, issues of IDPs. Do you have IDPs? You do. They talk about refugees. Do you have refugees? Yes, you do. They talk about negative forces. Did you have illegal armed groups in this country? Yes, you do. They talk about sexual violence. Is sexual violence an issue in this region, in this country? Yes, it is. They talk about threats of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Is it an issue? Yes, they are. So the protocols are relevant to the people of South Sudan. And as Ambassador mentioned, they provide prescriptions on how to go about it. What we have not done is implementing these protocols that our experts, including our member states, took long to put together. I mean, from Dar es Salaam in 2004, when they were told by experts to go and work on these documents, experts from all these member states convened for 2 years from Dar es Salaam to Nairobi when they signed the Pact on Security, Stability, and Development. 2 years of intensive work, of intensive consultation, intensive negotiation, involving everybody. They brought a document that is going to be a panacea for this region. And the document is there. Probably not very many people have read it. It's very important that we now go back and read these instruments. You are right. We need to provide a center where people can easily access these instruments. And they are on our website. Read them, understand them. But also, just like somebody actually met at lunchtime was telling me from a university, that we need to involve universities. Very important. Because these young people in these universities are there, whether you're a student of law or gender or whatever, you have no idea about the ICGR instruments. Yet, some of these institutions, including for students of law, they teach them UN instruments, African Union instruments. They have not taught them ICGR instruments. They need now to start learning these issues so that we don't come at the end of the day and start training people who have left universities. Those people don't even have time to learn. People have time to learn at universities, and then you force them to get them examined in these subjects. They are forced to do research in these subjects. When they go there, they come out of that, we don't have to struggle again. They know when they are lawyers or they are judges, they use these instruments for people, in courts and all that kind of thing. But also the policymakers, the planners, already know these instruments. The action plans we have for implementation of Kampala Declaration, for implementation of the Pact on Security should be taught early enough so that young people come out knowing these things. So yes, you are right. Thank you very much for this initiative. I want to pray that you keep engaging everybody so that I want to see you as the ICGR ambassador, comrade, so that you go and even when we are not there, we know you are there and we are safe.
For me to be an ambassador, you have to agree that ICGLR can fix South Sudan. So you are in agreement. Lorna Marakaji, you want to pick up on any point, or will you argue that regional cooperation can fix South Sudan?
Thank you very much. I think South Sudan needs to fix herself. It's the primary responsibility of South Sudanese to fix South Sudan. We should not expect any regional institution to fix it for us. I want to get back to the conversation. I think there are very important points that have been raised, and I want to thank the participants. One, what my brother was saying about protection of the interest of South Sudanese. I think that is the research I was talking about. To what extent are our local businessmen, South Sudanese businessmen, able to compete with the businessmen from the region? We need to do that research. Number two, we need to have clarity, as Ambassador Sitona raised earlier, about the resources we have. If we don't do that, then our negotiation in the regional institutions is going to be weak. And that is problematic, because then if you have not negotiated in a robust way with a clear understanding, at the end of the day, you find yourself shortchanged and you come back complaining. It's disheartening when I see government officials come back and complain about what happened out there, then we are like, we are finished as South Sudanese. So our message is that, yes, regional cooperation is important, but it should be done with open eyes. We should be able to engage as equal partners with full understanding of where we are going. And besides, the beauty of these institutions is that you can go in slowly. If you think you're not strong enough to dive into the deep end, then you negotiate to come in with a certain status. Kindly, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, when you are getting us in there, please understand our strength. Because when you carry us on board, when we don't have robust legal framework, as the other countries have, when we don't have robust infrastructure, as the other countries have, then we find ourselves as the underdogs. And then they overtake us because they are used to moving fast. And that is when South Sudanese start complaining that they have been shortchanged. We need to guard against that. And to us, our biggest interest is the interest of South Sudanese, and that need to be protected. And the resources of South Sudanese are very important, because if we keep giving concessions, if we keep signing to different agreements in the region in the name of cooperation, at the end of the day, our citizens are going to suffer, and the future generation will not forgive us. So we need to up our game and be able to protect South Sudan interests. Thank you.
And most importantly, engage the people of South Sudan, involve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mading. I just want to pick up on a couple of items, and then I want to make a broader point about the overall discussion. On the issue of capacity building and what the ICGLR can provide for entrepreneurs, we, as an organization directly, we work at the level of the policy formulation, and we work with the governments. But we are a convening authority in the sense that we can bring other partners who are directly working on issues of capacity building. Like Alwell said, we had an event that we organized in Nairobi in concert with the Office of the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General. And we brought in private sector players, including Alwell entrepreneurs from South Sudan. And Alwell benefited immensely because as part of that workshop, you know, she was exposed to how to prepare her business plan, how to market it, how to prepare herself for the investment conference and so on. So those initiatives are there. We don't do them directly, but we facilitate the process for you to be able to access that. And part of what we're trying to do is to bring many of these initiatives to the benefit of the people of South Sudan, which is why we're doing this outreach, not only in entrepreneurship, but in other sectors. The same, we are doing the event, my brother was talking about information. This idea of even engaging Dolku, media, and Mading to do this session is part of that information, because people are not aware of what ICGLR, or for that matter, what other organizations are doing. But I want to make a broader point about this development challenge. You know, development is a process. It's not, we cannot only look at our own immediate plight, like what is happening to me personally as an entrepreneur, what is happening to me as a policymaker, what is happening to me. It is about how are we preparing South Sudan for the medium and the long term, based on where we are right now. And I think if we look at it from that perspective, these instruments that we are sometimes suspicious of are the same instruments signed by the countries that we think will eat our lunch. It is that they know what are the instruments, they prepare their people to benefit from that. So, like the UN, people complain about the UN, but we all signed the same UN charter. It is up to you to make sure that the UN is beneficial to you. Because at the end of the day, if you isolate yourself, even whatever riches you have to trade them. You cannot eat oil. You have to sell the oil. And to sell the oil, you need to make it marketable. You need to make it, at a price that someone else would be willing to buy. And then you use the proceeds from that to develop your people, to build the roads that you need. Nobody is going to come and build the roads. So when we talk about regional cooperation supporting our development, it is for us to strengthen our ability to sell what we have and to get the money that we need from the goodwill of our neighbors and the broader international community. And then we take that money, which is rightfully ours, to build our country, to build our roads, to build our schools, to address the issue of illiteracy that is holding us back. You know, so one more point is that I have been in many countries that the same complaints from the private sector, like my brother Bol was talking about the encroachment of countries that are more advanced, is true. The point is that you are going through growing pains. This is the reality of the fight in the business sector. You need to really, you know, fight hard, get the best people to make sure that you leverage it. And then you talk to the policy makers at the level of the ambassador and the former advisor to the president, for them to be able to change the laws to benefit you. But in the meantime, you have to continue the fight as an entrepreneur, which you are doing on a daily basis. So I want us to be optimistic and to know that this is, you know, it's a jungle out there. You have to really fight, but you cannot close your doors and lock yourself in with your oil and your minerals. Thank you.
And before you conclude, let's make a...
Thank you very much. My name is Rene Ilumetembele. I'm the ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo in South Sudan. I don't have much to say. I was just encouraged by my colleague ambassador from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Why I didn't have to say something, it's because this initiative exists since 2004 and started its work in 2006. Up to now, we can evaluate the result, but we can see that the goals are not fully achieved. Why? Because we have a big weakness. Big weakness. I'm not allowed to speak about it here because, but it's good to say about it. We have a spiritual weakness, all of us, in our region. This is what you didn't say about. You took all sectors of life, but you forget the main one. This is a spiritual sector. You know, what I want to say is love. It's honesty. If we are honest, if we love each other, we'll go to unity and we'll look for the development which pass through peace. Why there is no peace in our region? We know all the secret. All of us, we are aware what is going on in the region. I cannot go through it because I'm an ambassador, but let me just tell you something. There is no honesty because we don't know God. I can kill my sister, I can violate my sister because I ignore that after all, there is another life after this life. This is the truth. So I would like just to invite our region really to put God also in our agenda. If we don't put God in our agenda, we'll continue doing the same things, the same mistakes, and we'll never achieve the development goals. So this is my appeal to our region because I'm a country which is a victim of this system. That's why I didn't like to say much because there are much to say. But let me stop there. I will just invite you. My appeal to the region, my appeal to our country, South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo, and all the region, is to try to put God in front. This is a moral sector. This is a spiritual sector. We are brothers and sisters. Our region is a very rich region. We can even feed all the world. But if the world is feeding us today, it's because of this weakness. We don't love each other. This is the truth. Let us love each other. Let us support each other. And our region will feed all the world. May God bless our region.
Thanks once more to the panel, members of the panel present here. I will only pick on 3 points for the contributions of our members here. One issue I registered here was the issue of concern on the protocols, 10 protocols of the ICGR. I will not say much about it because my colleague, Ambassador Thick, put it precisely. that these 10 protocols were actually the prescription for all the problems that we have, the social diseases we have in the region. So we are already implementing part of these protocols, 10 protocols. For instance, in South Sudan, we have already started implementing protocol on eradication of statelessness. Right now, we have action plan on the eradication of statelessness in the Republic of South Sudan. It is already in place. We work it in collaboration with our members in the parliament, and the action plan is already out, and it was presented in the last meeting of statelessness in Geneva. So we are already on embarking on those things. Then we have a protocol on judicial cooperation. We are already working with our judiciary and the Ministry of Justice. We are working to implement most of those protocols on judicial cooperation. The same thing with protocol on fight against crimes of sexual gender-based violence. We are already ahead of this in terms of implementation as a Republic of South Sudan. And many other protocols, we are already engaged in implementing those protocols as part of our mandate as a member state. Then the second point, somebody talk about, suppose if somebody have more product, how do you market your product, or how do ICGLR help somebody to market her or his own product? Those things will be implemented through our line ministries. For instance, if you are a progressive farmer in the Republic of South Sudan and you produce a lot of goods which you need to be marketed outside, then through our ministries, the Ministry of Trade, will be able to market your goods. The same thing, ICGLR also have a capacity through the regional fora to market or to campaign for your goods outside. So that thing can be done through the line ministries. The last point is somebody talk about involvement of our grassroots. How do our grassroots benefit in the ICGLR regional cooperation and integration? Yeah, our grassroots can benefit from the ICGLR, and we have already started benefit. You have seen in the afternoon, Mr. Akwacha Jang, our civil society heads here, and he's also deputy chair of the civil society of the ICGLR. We had many youths sent to some members of the some member states of the ICGLR before they got training in various fields. So our people have been going for training in and out of the Great Lakes region. So these are the benefit. Also, the mobility. Our people have already started interacting with our people within the region, something which was not there before. So mobility of our people, exchange of knowledge, exchange of ideas, and study tours. It has never been there before. So our youth are now benefiting from this exercise. They have been moving there. They have been given some of the responsibilities, like the ICGLR Youth Forum is being led by one of our youth here, that is Mrs. Christine. Is she around here? The Christine who talked in the afternoon. There was this short lady called Christine Naboy. She is the chair lady or the chairperson of the ICGLR Youth Forum, which is based in Kenya. And they have been started already interacting with their brothers and sisters within the region, something which was lacking before. Now we have already started following, because before we were barred out with these issues of visa, entering one country, calling ourselves foreigners, and so on. And in one of our regional forums, we have been talking to our people in the region before that actually our animals are the most, that the best intellectuals among us. Because now every year, our elephants and our buffaloes, they keep on moving, going for Xmas in the DRC, in Kenya, in Ethiopia, and they move without business. They don't care of your borders, you know. So we are actually following them. So in the sense, they are actually more intelligent than us, and they are more cooperative and more analytical, because they are more Africans than ourselves, because they don't bother. They keep on visiting their aunts, their in-laws, and their sisters, you know. So why don't we do this? So basically now we are following their example. So we are benefiting a lot from this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Barnaba, the current Ministry of Foreign Affairs used to be Regional Cooperation, and you were one of the first, or the first minister to head it. So do you say, in summary, that regional cooperation can fix South Sudan? You have a few questions to answer before you come to that. Welcome.
Yes, I'll answer a few questions. First of all, let me assure you that when we speak of resources, of this and this, know that they have been studied. There are records for those. Since 1972, during the Addis Ababa Agreement, there are volumes which actually identified what resources we have. So when the government is talking that we have this, they are not lying. It is true. You haven't heard any voice negative, even from the international bodies, that South Sudan claims to have oil, that it has no oil, or it has no gold. We have seen one of our officials from the Ministry of Mining giving you the details of what it is about gold. When we speak that we are number 2 in livestock in this country, giving numbers, we are not talking. It is a studied thing. So I would like to assure you that when the government speaks that we have these resources, there is proof for them. They are recorded. That's one. So our business people must speak with their heads up, knowing their country is not poor. It needs an investment. What my brother Bol was talking, we have been trying hard as a government to see that our business, especially the private businesses, should be built, because the country depends on private businesses, not on government jobs. And for you to do that, you have a good law of investment, which was done much earlier. I don't know how many of you have read it. It's a very attractive law of investment to encourage investment. The government tried to build our business people by giving them contracts. You know what they do with the contracts? They go and give it to another person to carry out that contract. And that actually, they don't rise. These are some of the mistakes we need to correct. Again, joining the regional organizations. This, as Ambassador Setona has done, it's done with great study, with all the knowledge. You don't just become a member of East African Community or a member of ICGR. There are institutions, there are capable people, knowledgeable, that study these things, and you become a member after you are satisfied that, yes, we can join this organization. We have been in the observer status since 2006, before we joined ICGR. And we joined ICGR 7 years later. 7 years of studying what ICGR is. So you must be confident. You must have confidence also in your capabilities as intellectuals, as educated people. Don't think that if I'm a South Sudanese and I meet a Kenyan or Ugandan, he is going to cheat me, I will not be. No, you have the ability. You have the knowledge. We also protect our interests. There's no country that doesn't protect its interests. We do things protecting the interests of the people of South Sudan. So change your complex. change your ability, and you will be able to compete. Now, when we talk of resources, why are we members of the East African Community? Now, if we develop these resources, which are enormous, we need a market. If we are members of the East African Community, the day our resources come out, we will sell it to them. 200 million people, not 14 million of you, because you will not consume them all. You create it from now, and you grow in it. So I would like to assure that our membership of regional integration, we should not be scared. There's no reason. Some of our intellectuals here, as members of the East African Community, you can apply for jobs in their countries now. That's what you can do. But what do we have for Kenyans or Ugandans to come here other than business? They will not come and compete with you for a job, a director general, or there are no companies they can enjoy. No. But you have a chance now, as an educated person, to seek a job in that region. So I'm sure we will be able to make it. But don't forget, South Sudan survived even when there were no educated people. Kan mafinas mutalimin from 1880s up to the present day. The Turks have come here, the Egyptians have come here, the British were here. Now, with the Turks, do you see anything Turkish? But they stayed here for 60 years. Do you see anything Turkish? Egyptian. What can I see? Maybe a bit of Arabic, but nothing more. The British, maybe they left us a bit of neckties and English language. We have survived. We are a surviving people. And I think you need to keep that. We shouldn't be scared, lock ourselves in. Look now, Sudan. Did you imagine one day that we can bring peace to Sudanese here, 100 meters from here? Oh no, 10 meters down. They are talking, being done by South Sudan. Even the world is surprised that we can bring peace to Sudan. Are you not doing it? You are doing it. We even tried it in 2005 to try and bring peace to Uganda. We just 1 year after the peace agreement. And we really brought them together. Did we not do it? So why are you scared? I don't understand that. So when we join these regions, when you hear of regional cooperation and we're contributing to it, it is not to our disadvantage. We are no fools because we know our interests, what we should protect. Now your peace, who brought it? It's IGAD contribution, but it is us making it, using the regional body for us to achieve peace. And I think it is not negative. So Madin Ngor, we will fix it.
We'll fix it, and for us...
And finally, I just want to say one word. One word I would want to say. Most of you are saying why the government is not for. You should know why. You know, we have all our political parties, more than any country now in Africa. You have SOAS, 7 political parties. You have OPP, there are 5 political parties. They come 7, 5, 12. We have SPLM-IO. We have got SPLM Real. We have former detainees. And the real the SPLM. How many? How many? 15, 16 countries. They are sitting to form a coalition government. They cannot form a government immediately because we were fighting each other before. They have to negotiate. They have to discuss. As I was saying this morning, America holds elections and they get a president in September. But they will go September, November, now September, October, November, December, until January. They have a government, 5 months, and it is one party. Now, you go to Israel, it's now going to a year without a government. You go to Germany, they call them friendly parties. Takes them 3 months to form a government. We come to South Sudan, 15 parties who were fighting each other. They were killing one another. Now they say there is peace, we get together to form a government. You expect them to form the government in 2 weeks? No. Are we different from the rest of the world? But we are even better. We have 5 vice presidents. It does not happen anywhere in the world. 5. We have our president. We have 1 minister to help our president. If there are heads of state coming, he can help them so that they can receive them to meet because the president cannot be running to the airport. We have 1 peacemaker, Tut Galwak, as advisor. At least to continue with Sudan peace talks. So we have a government of 7 people, the smallest government in the whole world.
Peace will be consolidated.
No, are we not on the right track? So what is the fuss about? Our government will be formed.
Coming back
in
to
our
the
right time. So Mading Dangor.
We will fix it and we will consolidate the peace.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that is the end of our forum. And thanks to our panel, Honorable Dr. Barnaba Mariel Benjamin, former presidential advisor and special envoy, Ambassador Antipas Nyok, ICGLR National Coordinator, Mr. Parek Toby Maduat, Director for Economic Development and Regional Integration at the ICGLR, Mr. Nathan Biamukama, Director, ICGLR Regional Training Center, Ms. Marakajo Lona, Secretary General of Sudamop and a civil society activist. Thanks to all of you, and that is it for Fixing South Sudan, consolidating peace and development through regional cooperation. Thank you very much.